We have Good Deeds. Bring your old magazines to a hospital waiting room. Well, sucks to be this card today because I can tell you I do not have a single magazine that is at least not vandalized in any way, because some years ago, I want to say the last time I physically held a new magazine was either the year 2017 or 2018, and it was because we have the vendor who takes care of magazines. First, it was a guy who I haven't seen since before COVID, and he was kind of in bad health. So I wonder if he either deteriorated or is no longer with us. And now we have this one lady. She doesn't give away magazines quite as much as the older guy did. I don't know if it's because their policy changed or maybe they changed their way of doing things, but I would end up with magazines sometimes because the guy would get rid of them and then he would offer them to me. And I said, sure, I'll take a look at them. And something I have loved doing since I was a kid is taking magazines and saving their pictures and making collages out of them. And if you guys remember back in the good old days how I used to have my room decorated with magazine pictures and stuff, I scored those pictures through those magazines that I scored at the store. But after that, I just couldn't really get back into it. I've never spent a single dollar on a magazine. And the ones that I always ended up with were incidental. Or sometimes mom would bring them home when I was a kid because we had a project coming up. And again, that's where I learned to make collages out of them. But outside of that, me personally, reading a magazine, like especially a gossip one, that would be incredibly stupid. I don't really look up recipes when I'm cooking. I just get things done. I just follow my imagination when it comes to creating things, and I stick to my basics, just beef and salmon, and just figure out different ways or different things I can incorporate them into. When it comes to science magazines, National Geographic, yeah, if I saw it, that was always my first choice. But nowadays, I rely more on going online and looking up specific things. And sometimes, if I'm at the store and I see a good headline on a magazine, I'll just look it up on my phone and see what other articles already exist about it if I don't have time to read it, which nowadays I really don't. Magazines, I really don't have them. The ones that I have cuts in them. And the only magazine I can think of off the top of my head that is pretty well preserved is one from Beckett Dragon Ball Z that I got back in the year, it was either 2001 or 2002. And it's the one that had that Vegeta on the front and he was powering up his like final flash and it had like a little pearlescent effect. I made a video about it about 2 years ago, so you guys can look it up. I think I just called it Beckett Dragon Ball Z magazine review, something like that. But that's it. That's pretty much the only magazine I haven't dug my scissors into because, of course, every single page is precious. But the others, the hardest thing for me to do was there was this magazine that had two celebrities that I'm a fan of. When I trimmed the picture out of the one that I settled for, right behind it, perfectly aligned with the trim I made on that picture, was the other celebrity that I'm like, dang it sucks to have to choose between the two of them. But ultimately, I went with the one I felt has been most influential on me, the one that I find more inspiring, more relatable to. Well, I can't say relatable because I cannot relate to celebrities like that, but at least I opted for the one who's pretty much a generation older, like, than the other one because I just felt more inclined to the maternity of the other one, whereas the other celebrity is closer to my age group. She's pretty much my brother's age. And then I'm like, oh, I just cannot relate as much with my peer because I need the advice of the other one. So to inspire myself, I saved the one that I felt has more impact on me in general. So yeah, you guys, that's pretty much my relationship with magazines. I would give them, this is a good idea, to hospitals, but I simply don't have anything to give. And I don't think that people, I guess the elderly would, but when I have gone to hospitals in the past 2 years, I don't see anybody reading books or reading magazines. Everybody's on their phone, especially since the hospital has free Wi-Fi. I know I was using the free Wi-Fi. Even the patients were using the free Wi-Fi. It's one of those things that's being phased out, if you ask me. Well, there you guys have it. That's it from me on this one. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts on magazines. Was there ever a magazine that you were really into? Or I guess we could throw into the mix things like comics, newspapers. I began my newspaper reading journey when I finally understood how to read it, and that was when I was in middle school. What tripped me about the newspaper is you have the headline, you start reading it, and then somewhere on the bottom it goes see page whatever it was called 3A. And I'm like, what? How come I'm reading this and I feel like I'm not getting the end of the story? And then that's when one of my teachers and eventually mom explained to me that that's pretty much a guide, like the index on how to find it, something like that. And I'm like, this is so stupid. Why can I not have a linear reading? But then when I think about it critically now as an adult, I figured that if you want to sell something, you gotta advertise it. The front page is like the ad of what you can expect to read, the cover of the book. But it has to be segmented in a way because it's going to have images attached to it that you wouldn't necessarily want to occupy the front page. It's just a lot of design elements going on, but I can figure that now as an adult. But as a kid, I just felt frustrated that I had to hunt down, have my reading interrupted, and then hunt down or the story continues. I didn't like that. Okay, that's it. Bye.